I'm up higher. That means I'm looking. That's better.
Wait, okay, we are live. Hey, everybody, coming in to this Facebook Live on this morning, afternoon. Some of you, it's even Wednesday evening. I am here with the lovely Barbara Turley, and I feel so lucky to have you in the community today. So Barbara is a powerhouse, like hands down. Hands down, she is the founder of the Virtual Hub, which is a really, really awesome virtual assistant agency, recruitment, training, and management business, one that I use personally in my own agency. So I've worked with her VAs before, and I can attest that they are fabulous. And I also have clients that have worked with her company. So I thought, what better way to educate and to help, to give you guys an opportunity to ask Barbara questions and see if, working with a VA is something that you really want to do. So welcome, Barbara.
Thank you very much. Very excited to be here.
I'm really excited to have you here. So let me just pop over to Facebook again. I just want to make sure. And if you guys are tuning in, please do hop on and say hi. It's a little bit, because we're on Be Live, it gets a little bit difficult to see comments. So I will be going back and forth to see if any of you guys do have comments. And of course, that's the purpose of this. I wanted to bring Barbara on here to learn a little bit more about how she manages an agency the size of, and I think you're up to 80 VAs in your agency now?
Yes.
It's quite remarkable. And how long has it been, really?
Well, it's been 4 years, but it's been a journey. It's the current model is probably, we're 12 months into the current model, but it's really 4 years.
Wow. So awesome. So I want to kick off, and of course, I can see that there are people on live. If anybody has comments, please do leave us comments. And of course, if you're catching this recording, because I'll likely boost this afterwards. So if you're catching the recording, you can leave comments, and I'll come back. And if it's something I need to bring to Barbara's attention, then I will let her know. So I want to get right into this. So I'm basically going to be asking Barbara a few questions about how she got into what she's doing. So I mean, what I really want to know is, how did you get started working with the types of virtual assistants that you work with? And tell us a little bit more about the business in general, and how that's been going.
So I think you're going to love this story, because I don't even know if I shared this with you, Sarah, but I call this my accidental business, because I did not plan to start this business at all. Even when it started, I had no plan to start this business. The beginnings of my career, I spent 15 years in the investment banking world. So I didn't come from HR or digital marketing or anything like that. And I always wanted to run my own business. So when I was about 10 years into my career, I got an opportunity. To cut a long story short, the financial crisis happened. It was a disaster. Everyone was like running for the hills. And I got an opportunity with a group of people from Deutsche Bank to do a management buyout of a business here in Australia, where I'm based. And look, at the time, everyone was like, do you not think that's risky? I was like, well, not really, because we've nothing left anyway. So I did take a bit of a risk. I worked for free to get equity. And I was heavily involved in kind of the beginnings of that. And the reasons I did it was I wanted to get a stake in something, but I also wanted to learn how to run a really big business. And, we bought 1.6 billion of assets from Deutsche Bank. So it was not small. It was a small deal, but it's a big number. It looks like a big number. So I knew I was going to learn a lot. I did that for 5 years, and I learned incredible amounts from that whole experience about big businesses, scaling, distribution, all that kind of thing. And then I decided to leave and do my own business, as many people on this call will do. And some people will remember the first business that I started was called Energize Wealth. So I'm sure there's going to be people on this call that may remember that. And look, that platform's still there because I keep thinking I'm going to do something one day. But I was doing quite a lot of business coaching early on in that part of my career. And I noticed that all the clients I had all had the same problem. They knew what they wanted to do. They kind of had a bit of strategy and they needed help with that, but they had no time. So the problem essentially that I unearthed was that they had no time. Now, everyone tells you in business to find the problem and then solve for it. And it's only in retrospect that I now know that actually I found the problem, like the deepest problem that people were having at that moment. And I had a VA myself because, like everyone, I had read the 4-Hour Workweek.
Right.
And I had a Filipino VA, and I said to her, look, do any of your friends want jobs? And we just started to help some of my business coaching clients. I started recruiting VAs to help, not as a business, just to kind of help them.
Right.
And before I knew it, I was just getting more calls with the, hey, can you get me one of those VAs than I was for business coaching. And there was one moment I remember thinking, I wonder, is there a business in this? And I did a webinar. And I paid no money for any Facebook ads or anything. And it was the most successful webinar I ever put on. Wow. And overnight, within a month, the original business was called Virtual Angel Hub, was born. And we had no name, no website, nothing, no business plan, nothing. And we were just in business within a second. So it just grew from there.
That's quite remarkable. I mean,
it was very accidental. I have a lot of gray hair because of it.
Oh my God. Well, I love we have 2 VAs that work in our business that support me in my launching and in the things that I do more internally in my business. So that is amazing. I mean, I love that it was like this accidental business. It's crazy because it's exploded into something that is just really successful. And the thing that I love the most about your agency, and I'm going to be loving you up today, Barbara. The thing I love the most about it,
I'll just chip it all in. I need it sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with tons of VAs over the years. I've worked with VAs from every part of the world, and the one thing that I think freaked me out and freaks out some of my clients, being an online business manager, is that there's no sort of structure. And you're always kind of worried, is this VA going to up and leave me? Is this just a bridge job? How? And so immediately when I came across your business through a client that had been working with one of your VAs, I realized that there was something a little bit different from what you were doing, from what I was used to. And I was like, this is actually really interesting because here we have this agency style, and I'm all for agency style. I have 5 OBMs on my own business, but I was like, there's something different about this because here we have structure and we have training and they have resources. So I want you to tell me a little bit more about how you've really systematized that side of the agency to really keep it moving like a real, I mean, maybe not at the beginning, but now it is definitely a fine-tuned machine.
Look, the one thing I will say, and this is really good for those listening. First of all, when you see businesses like this, it's the whole age-old thing if you think it's an overnight success, and it definitely was not. Like I literally have gray hair from trying to build this business. But like it's building systems and working with teams. It's like a one foot in front of the other. You do it slowly because you're going to become extremely overwhelmed if you try and build it. Rome wasn't built in a day. So in the beginning, and look, a lot of this comes, I guess, from my own experience of building companies. And I guess my passion and what I really want to do is I always wanted to build my own company as opposed to start my own business. So those are 2 very different things. And I wanted to build a company that creates impact. I want to build a company that, my original vision, interestingly, was that I wanted to build a company that would empower women to rise up in terms of financial health, business, and actually, because I just had a feeling that would be what would drive the world forward. And interestingly, I sort of changed business completely from that when I did the virtual hub, but the mission is sort of the same. I actually have found this business to be more impactful than the original one I had. So I've managed to stay on vision in that we have lots of women working for us. We have lots of female clients. We have men now too, but in the early days, it was all about women. So how did I start that? So as I said, the first thing I did was I unearthed the problem. Now, everyone says, find a problem and then solve for it. I always add to that and I go, find a problem that people are willing to fall over themselves to pay money for you to solve today, right? Because otherwise, I originally thought people wanted to build wealth, and that's what people do want, but it's kind of like a far off in the future feeling for people. They won't necessarily do it today. So I managed to unearth this problem. And then what happens when you find a problem and solve for it, as you'll probably know, is that then you find the next ugly problem raises its head and it becomes an even bigger problem. And the next problem for me that raised its ugly head very quickly was that people did not know how to delegate. And I'm a natural, I don't know how I figured this out, but I just realized I'm naturally good at it. I don't know why. I never had a team before. I was always working in sort of solo roles, so I had no training in it. And I just think I have a natural tendency to want to lead teams. So, and delegating and processes and all these things. So I discovered that clients were just not getting the success that I thought they should get. And I looked a lot closer at it and I realized that, I mean, even down to people don't even know how to write a task effectively. You know, it's not even creating a system. It's like, how do you write a task or an SOP? What is an SOP? Like people are just completely confused. So I created a very small training program for clients. And, you know, that was the start of me starting to kind of systematize things or whatever. I created 3 videos, very simple. Then I had to build a membership site, but I kept it simple. Like just keep everything really simple. And I showed them how to use Asana, but I didn't let them watch the Asana trainings. I made my own one. And I cut it down into the simplest form of saying, hey, just create a recurring task list and a to-do list and put this, this, and this in there. So I created systems that were quite simple in the beginning. And then it's a slow process then of, you know, clients. I think the next problem I then realized was that VAs would come in and, you know, resumes and interviews, people can say anything, but they really weren't trained to the level that people needed or that they thought they were. So that was kind of the next problem. I was still seeing issues. So I built a little training program that I originally used to deliver live myself to new VAs when they came through. So as we got more people and more clients, I realized that I had to have processes for all these things. So again, you know, that's about at least 1.5 years that I've just covered there, right? In trying to build
creating processes.
of creating little simple processes. And the trick really, if you want to do this, is that every time a problem comes up, you think to yourself, you'll go nuts and be frustrated and all that. And then you go, okay, how do I solve this problem so that it does not happen again? How do I evolve my process? Because processes are things that people think you create them once, but you don't. They're an ever evolving thing.
I call them living, breathing things.
They're living, breathing. They're very dynamic. They are frustrating. They're annoying. People make mistakes, all those things. But actually, I sort of say mistakes are like the greatest gifts that ever can be given to you with a process, because you see where the holes are. The hole may be the person, but it often isn't the person. It's usually the iterations of the process or the IP that you have when you wrote it that the other person doing it may not have. So you've got to think through all these things. So yeah, it was really a lot of pain that led to me having a systemized business. You know, I always say to people, if I was to start again now, I could build this business in about three to 6 months.
Wow.
What has actually taken me 4 years to build this time round. If I do another business, it'll be built much faster because I know now, you know, where I would do it differently and, you know, the mistakes that I wouldn't do again. But it's a process and you just got to give it time, give yourself time. And that's really how you get there. It's baby steps.
Yeah, I love that because I mean, I'm total. Is there a little bit of feedback when I talk? Do you hear that?
No, I can hear you fine. It's fine for me. I'm wondering, is it because I've got a mic? I've got a mic here.
It's fine. It's not bothering me.
Yeah.
So I mean, generally, what are some of the kinds of tools you're using in your business? You know, because I think we're all kind of curious, like, what is the meat? You mentioned Asana. Like, what is it that keeps that train a rolling?
Yeah. So again, I'm really passionate about talking about this subject because I think, look, in business, people overcomplicate things all the time. They overcomplicate things with processes. They overcomplicate things with everything. And systems are another thing that people have too many systems. They try and string too many things together. And I always say to people, you've got to try and keep it simple. So in the very early days, look, I will confess, I've been on the free Asana since I started this business until about 2 months ago. And I only up-leveled to the paid one 2 months ago. Oh, we could have kept going. I just felt the future of the business needed the paid version. So Asana or Trello, I mean, these tools it is absolutely central to my business. Absolutely everything is run from Asana. Now, it's got Zapier integrations across lots of other platforms. But the main thing is Asana is the biggie. The other biggie is Entreport for me. I've written them down here, actually. So the big four that I use are Asana, Entreport, LastPass, and Zapier. Now, obviously, there's WordPress and there's Hootsuite and these little things outside on the edges. But those are the big powerhouses that we use. And we run an entire business off the back of that, pretty much. That includes Asana is the king, though. That's the absolute, So Entreport is integrated with Asana using Zaps. We've got Gmail integrated to Asana using Zaps. So, for example, when customers send in customer support tickets and things like that, they all show up in Asana in projects that I have access to. So I only ever open Asana, nothing else.
Wow.
Pretty much.
I mean, for me, it's all about Team Kim. And I'm getting comments that people aren't hearing the echo.
They are.
The echo gone now. I still hear it.
Maybe it's because, have you got your Facebook open? I closed mine because I could hear you talking.
Yeah, yes, I do. Is that better now?
Maybe if you maybe if you mute your.
How about now?
Facebook Live, you probably won't hear it again.
I don't know. Well, we're just gonna have to deal with it.
I don't know.
Technology, right?
I know.
So
usually back from from both of us talking, maybe and then the Facebook Live speaking in the background too.
Yeah, it might be. It's always something. I mean, I love Be Live and it's awesome. It's such an awesome platform. I love that we can even hop on both at the same time like this.
Yes, yeah.
It's technology. So you had mentioned a lot about Asana, and for me, it's all about Teamwork PM. I feel like it's the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning. I look and I see what are my tasks to do today. So I wanted to really dive in deep because I have a team of 5 OBMs and multiple contractors like graphic designers and developers on my team. And I know you've got quite a juicy team yourself. I'd love to know your feelings around meetings, team meetings, and how you really keep that cohesiveness in such a large business, and really how you manage all the parts and pieces. Because the VAs that I work with are happy. They get the training they need, and I feel like they have the resources they need, and it's a real wonderful thing. So, kudos to you. And
we've a lot more to do, funnily enough, we have a lot more to do. But so essentially, just to break it down for you, I've got about 15, between 13 and 15 people that report to me that are on my team. Sorry, they don't report to me directly, but they're on my team. Then I have all the others are contracted VAs, really. So they're not essential. They're not necessarily reporting up to me, but we still have to have team structures in place. So the first thing about meetings, just dealing with my own team, firstly, I follow the huddle techniques, the scrum techniques with huddles and things like that. And the daily huddle was an absolute game changer in my business. We were struggling with mistakes, things being forgotten. Even though we had nailed the processes, everyone knows that they have to be in Asana, commenting, updating, all that stuff was working well. So I started doing a daily 15-minute huddle. Now, it's purely for a particular process that we have, which is called the client pipeline. And it's a massive process where we see all the VA leads coming through. The recruiter is on the call. The master trainers are on the call. Our client liaison people, our accounts person, me, and our team leaders are all on the calls as well. And everyone has to go through, but if you can imagine, it's a massive matching of supply demand. Yeah. And we're watching what the skill sets are coming through training programs and who we're going to match people up with. So it's like, look, I was a trader in my former career. I spent 10 years on a trading floor, and I always describe it as kind of the same thing. I feel like when I run that huddle every day, I'm doing the same as what I did for those 10 years. Whereas all this it's just matching supply demand and dealing with a lot of different people at the one time. So I get a kick out of running the meeting myself. I like doing it. But it can get crazy if you've got a lot of people coming through on both sides of the pipelines. But the huddle solved a lot of problems for us. So these days, I recommend that all clients, even if it's just one person, one VA, has a non-negotiable daily huddle of a minimum of 10 minutes in their diary. And the trick is, as the owner of the business or the leader, you don't have to be the one to lead the huddle, but you have to be the one to make it non-negotiable. So you have to demonstrate that to your team. So we have it every day, 1 p.m. my time, and doesn't matter what's on, I have to drop everything and go to the huddle.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
My team know if they don't show up at the huddle, like, that's bad.
Yeah.
They're really like, it's a sacred time.
Yeah.
So, but we don't have a lot of other meetings, I'll be honest with you, because meetings can get they just can waste a lot of time. So I've got a management meeting with the sort of 2 top level people. We have team leader huddles, and each team has their own huddle. So we've kind of brought that concept through the whole business. And then I want to do more Facebook Lives to the whole teams. I've done a few, but I haven't done enough.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I update them on what we're doing, company policy, like changes. We even do feedback loops. So we send out big surveys to all the VAs. And I always say to them, this company is built from the ground up. Like, if you guys don't tell me what you want, then I can't build it. So I say, I'm not going to build anything until you tell me what you're looking for. So we do anonymous surveys all the time, and they can tell me anything.
Very smart.
And then I tell them what was on the survey. I go, and here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're not going to do, but here's a solution instead, things like that.
That's cool. That's really cool. And I'm curious, because you know me, I'm all about standard operating procedures and systematizing. And that is really the key to, and I want to also talk a little bit, because I know you're a mom too, and I know a lot of our community are moms, and I want to hear about some tips and tricks about motherhood and how you balance all of that. But where do you keep all of your SOPs? Like, where does your team access everything?
Okay, this is where you're stronger than me. So we do have SOPs, but they are documented, but we are going through a process at the moment of having a lot of them updated. So we do have them, but I wouldn't say that's our strongest area. We just keep them in Google Docs and G Drive. Oh, yeah. They're just that's Google cool. Drive.
Same with me. I just thought, well, maybe secret little.
Look, I'd love to have videos and like a portal and all that, but I mean, we'd love to have that. But honestly, I think they change so often that it's a bit tricky to do them. We do put the links to the process in Asana in the task that's going, things like that. And we have a kind of a handing the baton situation. So how the huddle works really well is that sometimes you've got to, like, some of our processes are so huge that there's like 8 different people involved in them. And there's a kind of a handing the baton thing that goes on. So like, once the recruiters are done, they're handing all the people they've brought in and have earmarked for training, and they hand the baton to the trainers. Then the trainers take over, and then they hand the baton to the guys that run the live simulations, because we bring a lot of VAs into our own business first, and we actually put them in a live simulation to get them even more experience before we ever let them loose on clients. And then those guys got to hand the baton over to the client onboarding people and the VA onboarders. And there's a sort of a system of handing the baton that we have as well. So
cool. Yeah, it is. I mean, I imagine.
And by the way, none of it gets handed to me, but I act like the conductor. So I do very much act like the conductor in the business. And these days, there's very little that I'm actually doing, which makes me sound very lazy, but I'm doing more of the mentoring, guiding the team on what to do. Or at the moment, for example, I am just wrapped up in all the GDPR compliance data regulation that's coming out of Europe, and making sure that we're GDPR compliant. So that's like, I spent a whole day today doing that. So that's stuff I have to do. So I do a lot of that sort of thing. Yeah.
That's really cool. So I know, and I was listening to another one of your podcasts, and I know you talk a lot about being a mom and and structuring your time so that you are a mom first and foremost. So
Yes.
I love tips and tricks. For me, I'm all about my mommy calendar.
Okay.
Time where I'm just 100% with my kids. So tell us a little bit about how you balance. You're busy. You're really busy life.
Yes, my life is very busy. So look, again, I sound like Superwoman, and I'm definitely not. So people on this who are listening to this, I just want you to know that there are serious meltdowns. So we all have, I might sound like a powerhouse, but I'll be very open. There's times that I feel like a powerhouse, and there's times that I go through debilitating downers that, we all do. So I always want to be really open with everyone about that, I think one of the questions you had said that you wanted to kind of float with me was how do I get success in my life and all that sort of stuff. And, one of it is being a bit of a powerhouse, but recognizing that I'm also human and I really have some really down times. So with the mommy thing, you get the mommy guilt, of course. But in the beginning, look, Ruby, my daughter, is 21 months old now. And it changes, right? So when she was newborn, I actually found it much easier because she was sleeping a lot during the day. So I was like, oh, this is actually quite okay. Then she got to 6 months old and she was like not sleeping anymore. And I went through a massive rumble of having to go, I don't know how to navigate this. So I got a nanny to come in for a few hours in the afternoons. And I used to just block off the morning, and I would be mummy morning, and then I would be like a maniac in the afternoon to try and get everything done. You just work really fast. You become really efficient and you delegate a lot faster and a lot more. So, and then she got a bit older again, and now she's in daycare, so part of the week. My husband takes her part of the week, and I'm just very strict with my time. So when I'm working, I've had to become very efficient. I've had to delegate even more effectively, and I've had to hand off more and more stuff and empower my team to start delegating to people under them as well. So that's been a bit of a challenge to teach them how to delegate as well. So, but that's kind of where I'm at right now, is that I've got people who have people under them, and I'm mentoring them on how to actually delegate and get the results that we need as well.
One of the things I found really effective for my team was learning how to delegate. And even it was formula and everything.
Yeah.
Personality testing.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you do any of that with your team?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Look, we do. But funnily enough, I was actually listening to the other day you were on one of the challenge days. I listened to all of them. They were great.
Thank
you.
You
mentioned the Colby Index, and I was thinking about that. I think that would be a deeper look, because the personality testing, it's interesting. I have so many different personalities on my team, but they all exhibit, it's weird. We've been looking at this, and even all of our VAs, they all have different personalities, but they're all similar in certain ways. Mm-hmm. We look for a certain type, and it's not a personality type. It's like a trait. It's like a sort of a humility, but with enthusiasm and excitement and ability. So, it's a weird sort of thing. So I'm still navigating the personality testing part of it.
Yeah, I know for me, on my Colby test, I am a very quick starter and I'm very low on the follow through. I'm not getting all choppy here. I don't know what's my internet today.
Could be the internet.
Oh,
Tech issues, I know.
Tech. Okay, so a little bit structure-wise, tell me a little bit about how the team runs.
Sure. Okay, so where do I start? Again, it's like a moving feast, you sort of start out and you think you've got a few. So I started out with about 5 VAs, and then I realized, okay, I need an operations sort of person. And funnily enough, my original VA that started this whole thing with me, she's still with me, and she's head of operations now. And she has grown up into that role with me over time. So she now has a team under her. So the transition, I think the big transitions for people listening are, it's a massive step to go from solopreneur to one VA, right? That's an enormous step to take. And it's really, 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 it takes time. And I want people to go easy on themselves, but follow the steps, because there's a formula for that, as your team formula will show people. Then you kind of can go from one VA to 5 VAs because you kind of get in the groove of that. You've got Asana or Teamwork, whatever.
The systems already.
And you think, I've got this, right? You're like, you feel like you're running. Except then what happens is you become the bottleneck. Because once you've got more than 5 to 7 people reporting directly to you, you find that your life becomes chaotic again because you're just answering people all day long. You're trying to help people and you just have a whole other job, right? So then what you need to do is you need to kind of start elevating people into roles where they may have other people reporting up into them. So now I have that sort of structure going. I probably have, again, probably 7 people report to me, maybe 5, but they have people reporting up to them. Now, when you start doing that first, that can become a real headache again because, bottlenecks happen, communication lines fail, processes are not followed, all that sort of stuff happens again. And you need to bring everyone together and crack a few whips and just kind of realign things, right? So that can be quite a painful, that transition is actually very painful. And then I think the big one as well is to have a project manager or like an online business manager, because you'll start to find that you're the project manager then for everyone. Yeah. And you're trying to be the business owner. And if you're trying to build a company or a business or whatever, it's really hard to also be the project manager leading everybody on the projects, because then the projects fail because you're the one who's in the way. So I have experienced all of those things personally. So all of those issues.
When it's time to bring on an OBM, it's time for that entrepreneur to kind of move out of the day-to-day, move out of their own project management, and actually focus on the creating content, focus on whatever it is that making the business money and making the business actually run. So I love that because you definitely, like, I always say that if I start working with a client that has no VAs, and I'm as the OBM,
you become the VA.
Yeah, we always like to have, the VAs are the implementers, and they can also be project too. But the OBM is the person that can actually take off the plate for the client that entire project management, team management, operations management, all of that goodness.
Yeah. Now, the other thing is, I know you're going to agree with me on this one. So for those listening, though, I think the same thing can happen with when you get VAs or OBMs or project managers or whatever. People think, oh, my God, I just need one of those and I just want them to do it. Yeah. The real challenge is that it doesn't matter who you hire. It doesn't matter if it's an admin VA from the Philippines or an MBA graduate from the States that has all this experience. Even if somebody's highly experienced, they're going to come into your business and it's going to take a minimum of 3 to 4 to 5 months for them to get their feet under the desk of your business. Yeah. So, and you're going to be frustrated and you're going to think, oh my God, this is not working. I just want to sack them. But it's not the right solution. You've got to, a business is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And I see it happen all the time with VAs. People just throw them a task list and expect it all to be perfect with no engagement. And I go, look, you're either in this for the long term or you're not, right? So, and if you're in it for the long haul, if you get a good person on your team, you should invest time in them, because that's how you build a powerhouse business,
Yeah, you really have to persevere with that kind of stuff. And that's why as OBMs, I have, a 3-month retainer for clients, because I oftentimes people approach us, can you manage my launch? And their launch is like starting tomorrow. And I'm like, no, because we need to understand how your business runs before we can actually step into a lot of these roles in your business. So I love that you're saying that, because for all of because I know there's a lot of VAs and OBMs on the line, but for the clients who are also going through this.
Yeah. Well, it's about the OBMs being able to, the reason I was saying that is because you've got to, as OBMs, you've got to manage the boundaries and the expectations of that client. Yeah. And a lot of people, especially when you're starting out in business, because it doesn't matter whether you're an OBM or what you are, if you're running your own thing, you'll find it, as we all have struggled with, you'll find it difficult to ask for the money. You'll find it difficult to set the boundaries and the expectations, and you'll agree to doing a 3-week thing because you need the money or whatever. And that's fine, but it's better if you can confidently say to a client, look, I want to get results for you. And the only way I can get results is if you and I work deeply together for 3 months minimum. And here's what I'm going to, here's what I expect. Here's what you can expect. And here's the results we can achieve. A client will be like, where do I sign? because you've come in with this kind of really strong ability to set expectations and to sound like you know what you're doing. Otherwise, you just wishy-washy, you know?
Totally. People are saying that my echo is really bad and it's hard to understand.
Oh, that's a shame.
Well, I know we're here to talk to Barbara anyway.
Oh, wow. Maybe we can, I don't know if I can turn something off. I wonder why you're echoing.
I think is your microphone maybe picking up feedback?
Could be. Maybe I'll move it out of the way. Is that better?
Is that better, everybody? I still hear it. Oh, wait, anyway, it doesn't matter.
Anyway, I wouldn't mind, but I actually don't have a pair of earphones handy. I'd have to go and get some.
No worries.
Okay.
I think, we want to hear from you. So I want to hear more about how the process works if people want to work with you, really what that looks like. Because I know a lot of us here, a lot of my clients want to work with VAs, a lot of OBMs want VAs on their team. I know I have 2 on my team.
Yeah.
How can we learn more about the process of working with you? Because I think a lot of us need that.
Well, look, if you're at a stage where you're just thinking about it at this point and you need to be prepared. So one of the things, we've got 2 sales guys, so we can cover globally. We do 24 hours service from the Philippines. So we've got offices and everything there. So we can service all time zones. So on our sales calls, we've got, the guys are great, right? When you talk, we've got 2 guys, one in Ireland, one in Australia. If you get on a call with one of our sales guys, they are really good at actually coaching people on the call to figure out, are you ready yet? And if you're not ready, we're not about making sales. Like, I know that's like the death thing to say, but we've actually turned a lot of people away with some strategies, and then they come back and they're ready. Now, the people on this call and who are listening to this, are in this team growth challenge. So that's fantastic, because we want to work with clients that are ready to hire a VA. And the reason being is because if you're not ready, and if your business is not ready, you'll waste time, energy, and money, and you'll be frustrated, even if you get a VA through us, because our VAs are really highly trained, but there's an awful lot that a business has to do to get ready to get success with any VA, right? So that's number one. If you go to our website, there's loads of blog content on how
what is the website? It's the Virtual Hub?
Thevirtualhub.com, yeah. So there's quite a lot of stuff up there. There's actually a free course up there, the Scalable Business Success Formula, which is like just an e-course, really easy to do, that actually will help you to get ready as well. So probably a good one to sign up for. And then the process is that you have a call first with one of our strategy consultants. They will help you to figure out what you need. Are you ready? Is it the right time for you to come through? And then once you come in, we put you through our client onboarding experience, where you get like a bit of a mini training from me on how to get set up for success. We get you ready. And then when at the same time we're in the background, we've got massive training programs running all the time. Sometimes we have VAs ready, depends, when you come in. And then you get to meet 2 to 3, sometimes 4 of our people. It depends what level you're going for. If you're going for one of our highest level VAs, then you may only meet 1 or 2, because they're actually really hard to find and train. And then you decide who you have they show you their portfolios of work that they've done in training. You get to meet our master trainer on that call as well with all of the VAs. And when you decide who you'd like to work with, we do an onboarding, client onboarding experience after that as well, where you'll meet our client onboarding manager. They're going to help you and your VA set expectations together. We want to do more in this area as well, actually. And then there's ongoing training and engagement and check-in calls along the way. Obviously, we manage all HR concerns. We've got the offices. We manage training to as much of an extent as we can. We don't train on everything because we don't know your business. So sometimes, but we do specialize in digital though. So we do specialize we've got social media, content calendar training, Entreport, Infusionsoft, HubSpot, all these big platforms we train on.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I think the big one is if somebody leaves, let's say your VA leaves, which hardly ever happens for us. We've got VAs that stay a long time, but it does happen sometimes. So the big thing with us is that we we will do a transition for you that will be as seamless as possible for your business. Usually it involves either our team and the VA who's leaving and the new one. And we just pile loads of people onto it to actually make the transition easier so that you don't have to. We just navigate, or if it's not going well with your VA, sometimes we get in, could just be a coaching issue, could be a personality issue, could be a mismatch of skills. We just work with clients to navigate those issues, so you don't have to worry about those things.
That's great. That's great. I love that. And if you guys want to learn more about Barbara's team, you can go over to thevirtualhub.com. I've got the URL up on the screen.
Yeah.
Yay. Well, I loved this conversation. It's so great having you on here. I just want to check in the comments here. Does anybody have any questions for Barbara? I know my echo is really irritating. Everyone's like, your echo's annoying.
I'm hoping it's not. I think it's my microphone, maybe.
Yeah. It's okay. We wanted to hear from you anyways. That's the important thing. Okay, awesome. So Barbara, do you have any last advice to give, or a key piece? I know delegation to you is sort of like natural, and I think in a sense it is for me too. And obviously systems have helped me really hone that and understanding my personality and understanding my team's personality and all the stuff we've been really covering in the challenge. But are there any sort of last tips you want to share with us? Anything that we missed you want to bring up?
I do actually have one that's really important that we sort of missed along the way. So everybody thinks that the way to delegate is like this. Once you have a good let's say, assume you have a good person. So let's say you got a good VA or a good OBM or whatever. Then you create your SOPs and your recurring task lists, and you've got your Asana, your teamwork all set up, and you're all ready and set to go. And you think, wow, I've done a great job. This is awesome. VA starts, you do a bit of onboarding, and then you throw them the task list. And you're like 3 weeks later, come back and go, so how's it going? Right? And you find half the tasks are not done. There's mistakes everywhere. The big thing is you've done step one, but you've missed all the other steps that need to happen. So with delegation, you've got to delegate the task list, but then you can't just put like due dates in and then come back on the due date and be like, hey, what's happening? Mm-hmm. You've got to actually have milestones and check-in points along the way. You have to have some form of reporting back to you on results or problems. So the huddles are brilliant for the problems, because you say on the huddle, what have you done? What are you planning to do next? And where are you stuck? That's the big question. Where's the roadblock? So that's key point number one. Key point number two, which is something we're starting to introduce for all clients, hopefully soon, is creating an expectations document. Now, this sounds it would put some people off, because some people don't like they're like, I don't really mind how they do the work. I would suggest with VA, structure is better. Setting expectations around communication channels. So I'll give a very quick example. For me, I like to be updated, right? I'm probably a control freak, but I'm very serious about Asana, and I'm very serious about having communication going all the time, because I'm at my desk all the time and my job is conductor as opposed to doer. Mm-hmm. If I was a consultant where I'm in meetings all day, that would drive me insane. Can you imagine having like pings all day with questions from VAs and things? So you've got to set your expectations around how you want your VA to interact with you around those sorts of things. Is it once a day on a huddle, or is it all day long as problems come up? Because the VA might have one view and you might have another. But because you don't talk about it, people get frustrated and go, I don't think it's a match for me. And I'm like, it's just a management thing. So those are really critical to get right as well. And to give it time, you've got to work together for a period of time to make that work together. That's my biggest tips. Yeah,
I love that. And I love, sometimes having those one-on-one meetings with my team members just out of the blue, like, how are you? What's been going on? I find I get a lot of information when I have those conversations too. I know
and be direct. Yeah. Be open, direct. Like sometimes I say to people, particularly with VAs in the Philippines, any of them listening will laugh at me when I say this. I just get on a call and go, hey, this is not working. There's something wrong. It's either the process, or is there something happening at home? Or is there something I don't know about? Like, is there something you're feeling that, and you just got to have it out together, and don't dance around issues without, being too afraid to talk about stuff. You just got to get it out there in a nice way. It doesn't have to be aggressive or critical or anything like that. It can just be open. Yeah.
Well, I love this. Thank you so much for coming in here on this Facebook Live with me and talking to our community and talking about the wonderful, amazing business that you have really, really grown into something that is becoming like a beast. I love it.
Big plans this year. Big plans.
I love it. And thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, everyone. And if anyone has questions, they can just put them in the comments. I'll drop in and have a look in the comments to see if anyone has any burning questions they want to follow up on, and I'll answer them for you.
Awesome. Well, you have a lovely afternoon. It's the afternoon there, right, Barbara?
Yeah, 20 past 4. I'm off to pick my daughter up.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And
thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.